I can remember a time at Rockwood when I was still farming with cattle and sheep and goats, where I sat outside at night and looking at the stars, hearing the sheep and the goats, and thinking this could have been so much better if we had wild animals here again. That's where the wildlife, or reintroducing wildlife here, started. I was always drawn to, say, exotic animals like rhino. I didn't grow up in an area where rhino was natural, or what I perceived to be natural. They were hunted to extinction in that part of the world 100 years ago. My name is Wicus Diedericks. I grew up on a farm in the Northern Cape, South Africa. My first memory of the great outdoors or nature is basically on the farm at night, hearing the jackals far in the distance. I reckon that's where my passion for nature started. In 2013, when I bought this land, I decided to do something different. It was always this romantic beast that I never saw. I think only about a month before I got the first rhino translocated here, I actually saw the first live rhino. And it was unbelievable, that first encounter, the feelings inside of me. And since then, I fell in love with the animals. And now I reckon it's my greatest passion. So here at Rockwood, our primary focus is conservation and the general well-being of our animals. It takes quite a lot of effort to protect them. We have call it an aggressive strategy to keep them maybe in smaller areas where we can protect them better, where we can intensify our efforts. But not only that, we feel very strongly about education and also about research. It's very important that we learn about the species. It's such an iconic species, but yet there's so little literature, especially when it comes to keeping them in more intensive operations like we're doing here. In July of 2014, my whole life changed. The first rhino was poached here at Rockwood. And it was a very, very emotional experience. It was the first rhino poached in the whole of the Northern Cape province.
Yeah, it was sad, It really hit us hard. I mean, when you work with these animals, you create a bond. You love them. So seeing something like that happen to those animals, I mean, it's not nice. It's really sad.
Standing next to that animal, after embracing that animal, caring for it, and to see how it was butchered really touched me. And it just made me realize that if I don't start making a difference, and not just by talking, but really making a difference, really changing what is happening at the moment, we're not going to win this fight.
Everyone has a place and everyone has a role to play to save what's left. Yes, we are losing the battle, there's no doubt about it, and that's a fact. Not just for rhinos, giraffe, a lot of the other species. From the 9 subspecies of giraffe, your kids are not going to see 2 or 3 of those subspecies in 10 years from now. Being a conservationist, having an endless curiosity to try and understand and preserve and conserve what's left. The reality is, in 20 or 30 years from now, it's going to be gone. That pristine habitat, that beautiful Serengeti that you've dreamt of as a child, watching it on television, and you go there and you realize when you drive there that you drive for miles and miles and thousands of kilometers, you don't see a living tree. To get to the Serengeti or the Masai Mara or Amboseli or any of those national parks in East Africa, it's isolated islands that we are still trying to protect. And human nature has got a bad history when it comes to conservation.
Not one of the rangers comes from a military or a traditional nature conservation background. They were all unemployed people from the vicinity that we trained. So there's a lot of effort went into that. But we also get a lot of return from that because they're absolutely passionate about what they're doing. And Rockwood has become their family. And I think that's going to be our success. In total, there's about 50 people working here full time. You know, you can imagine just feeding everybody, taking care of all the workers here. It takes quite some effort. And then we are a semi-desert area, and in the past couple of years we had far below our normal rainfall, and then we have to feed our animals to get them to survive. So our tagline at Rockwood is "Live for a change," and it's obviously because we want to make a change in the world we live in, but also to live for a change and to enjoy what we're doing and to feel good about what you're doing and to leave something behind of what you can be proud of. When you get so close to rhino and you look in their eyes, you see a certain vulnerability. I don't know, they almost look sad to me. That's the irony about rhino. They're such big, majestic animals, but yet they're so vulnerable. They've been around for longer than humans have been around, and yet if we don't act in our lifetimes, they will be extinct. If we don't get this right, there's going to be a lot of other things with much worse consequences that we're also not going to get right. We need to see the social aspect in conservation. Conservation cannot happen without social upliftment and I'd almost say integration with humans. In South Africa, we've got a very successful model because we can own wildlife, and therefore wildlife has a value.
Touching that rhino, I mean, it's amazing. It's just very few people in the world has experienced that. So, and Rockwood is putting that opportunity for anyone to get involved and want to be involved. This is the place to be. This is the place to come and experience that.
If we achieve what we set out to achieve and to grow our numbers of rhino, we will have the nice dilemma of having to relocate them to new areas. And it will be wonderful to move rhino into areas where they've gone extinct. And wouldn't it be nice not to save the rhino?